What's up, lore masters? Today we'll be taking a look at an interesting theory from the Homefront and Paradise Lost episodes found on Deep Space Nine. In these episodes, a Starfleet coup is almost successful after the bombing of a conference of dignitaries on Earth. It has always been assumed that the terrorist attack was carried out by a changeling, but the real question is, could the bombing of the Antwerp conference have been an inside job? Even though this seems completely out of left field, there is actual evidence to support the theory that the bombing of the Antwerp conference was the machinations of Starfleet Command, and had been specifically carried out by Vice Admiral Layton. When considering this theory, there's a few things that do need to be taken into account. The first piece to consider is that of the wormhole. Now, if you remember, the wormhole began opening and closing randomly with no real justification, and it began doing it right before the Antwerp bombing. This means that the plan to overthrow the Federation civilian government had already began and was in its early stages. We know this because ultimately the wormhole was a ploy to trick Starfleet officers into believing an impending Dominion fleet was on the way. Also, what about the footage that was released by Starfleet Security? There's a couple of things to this. First, we know that Starfleet Security did fear the Dominion, and I'll talk more on that later, but additionally, it's even stated by Worf that there was no evidence of any changeling activity. At all. They didn't find any remains of the changeling or that the changeling had even been there. The footage, however, shows that the changeling was at point-blank range during the explosion. It's possible that the changeling used teleporter technology, that he got away somehow, but that would have had to been extremely precise. For that matter, a Dominion terrorist attack on Earth at this point makes absolutely no sense. At this time, the Dominion were not openly attacking the Alpha Quadrant powers, but instead working in the background. Remember, the attack by the Tal Shiar and Obsidian Order was encouraged by Dominion agents, but not specifically directed by them. Additionally, the Klingon-Cardassian War that we see occur is not direct intervention. It's due to a changeling infiltrator, true, but would only be something pushed for, not directly instigated. It would be Gowron who would make the ultimate decision here. A terrorist attack by a changeling would simply be inconsistent with Dominion tactics, as far as I can tell. Also, the Dominion openly bombing high dignitaries between the Romulan and Federation Council would be, well, extremely stupid. This would only bolster Romulan resolve to move towards their Alpha Quadrant allies. The Dominion were thoroughly knowledgeable about Romulans and their reactions, so this only gives further reason that Starfleet would do something of this magnitude to push the Romulans in the corner of the Alpha Quadrant. Additionally, let's consider Red Squad. The idea of an elite force of Starfleet cadets being given not only additionally classified training, but also their membership was highly secret is unusual for Starfleet. Hell, this very idea of secretiveness and training superior soldiers is completely antithetical to the Federation ideals of being open and honest. And a final note, remember Red Squad was a fairly new concept in 2372. Unfortunately, there isn't a ton of information in regards to Red Squad, at least not in Alpha Canon. It is possible that the entire concept of Red Squad was conceived and executed by Layton. I mean, it's not unreasonable when you consider his other actions. I mean, he made strategic movements within Starfleet itself to put his people in key positions. He did this to ensure a good, we'll go with transition of power. Lastly, we do know that Layton did have allies within Starfleet Command. When Sisko advises of the transporter record showing peculiar movements by Red Squad to the Admiralty, an admiral, not Layton, orders him to delete the record and ensure that the transgression would never be exposed. It's extremely likely that many, if not most, of Starfleet Command may have played a part in this conspiracy. I mean, it's not actually unreasonable. Let's talk about Starfleet Command and Starfleet Security. In the episode, The Die is Cast, when the Obsidian Order and Tal Shiar attempted to attack the Dominion homeworld, Vice Admiral Todman, an admiral assigned to Starfleet Security, seemed agreeable to the plan and even ensured that Starfleet would not intervene. He even goes on record as stating specifically, "I never hope for war, but if it comes, I'd rather see the Dominion on the losing side." Of course, the Dominion won that encounter, which would have sent shockwaves through Starfleet Command, and fear can be a devastating persuader. Also, while this is the weakest piece of evidence, the Lakota had been modified heavily, enough so that it could match a Defiant-class ship. That's not exactly something you can do without raising eyebrows. Starfleet Security, Starfleet Corps of Engineers, many admirals and people would have had to see these orders and would have raised an eyebrow. I mean, the events to ensure that Layton comes into power from the moment of the bombing up until Sisko's rescue and the confrontation just fits too perfectly for Layton. The events are done so well that it's damn convenient. Now, there is one hole in this theory. It's as likely the Dominion were also aware of Leighton's conspiracy and thus were attempting to help him. Just like the Obsidian Order and Tal Shiar, the Dominion were simply pushing Leighton along and ensuring that he would be successful. When you consider that a changeling emulated Leighton to only further prove that Starfleet needed even more militarization to defend against an incursion, it only makes sense. I mean, when you think about that event, the changeling really served no positive purpose for the Dominion by being found out by Odo. And let's be honest, a Starfleet coup would have never worked. I mean, you would have almost instantly had rebellion and ultimately a civil war. It would have tore the Federation apart. It would have opened up the borders of the Federation to a Romulan invasion even. Hell, maybe even a Klingon one when you consider that Gowron was more than willing to attack Starfleet. So, I mean, really this coup would have been optimal for the Dominion. It is possible that a Dominion agent did in fact commit the terrorist attack, that this was the last straw that broke the camel's back and spurred Leighton into action. And I am a huge fan of Occam's razor that it would seem more simple that the Dominion had done the attack. Honestly, I would generally lean more towards the Dominion than anything else. My only doubt is due to the wormhole events as we discussed. What are your thoughts? Was the terrorist attack committed by Leighton? Or did the changelings just take advantage? Let me know in the comments below. By the way, guys, special shout out to a user on Reddit by the name of Isotope Museum. When I conceived of this idea, I did some research and found his thread with some of his ideas on why the Antwerp conference was a conspiracy. He was pretty succinct in his thoughts and mirrored a lot of what I thought the reasons were it could have occurred, so link is in the description below, though it's archived, so you can't really comment on it. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next Lore Reloaded.